Hey, I'm Natalie from SoHungryHippie.com. Today I'm going to walk you through two different projects in a pretty quick video showing you how I put on my binding and how I attach the short ends. Okay, we're going to do binding today. I'm going to make a little itty bitty coaster. It's going to be 5 inches square. I'm going to cut out my fabric. I'm going to cut out my binding with you, and then we're going to put on the binding and then connect the edges, the short ends. For this version, this project is just a little tiny coaster. This is the classic way to attach a quilt-style binding. So I'm cutting out my fabric here. I'm using scrap batting, 2 layers in the middle, and then another piece on the outside, and I will just press it really quick and then baste around the outside edges. Then you will see me cut the binding at 2.5 inches wide and connect it like a quilter would. Okay, I have to take off my shoes when I sew. Do any of you? Otherwise I feel like I'm gonna go off the road or something. I'm just gonna baste around the edges to hold all of these layers together. You could quilt this, you could do whatever you want, but for tutorial's sake and to keep this short, I'm just gonna go around the edge. This would be a great chance to practice free motion quilting. There we are. I'm just gonna trim this up a bit so all of my edges are straight and even. Sometimes when you've got all those layers in there, things can shift around a little bit. Okay. There's the coaster with the raw edges. Now I'm going to cut my binding. I hope this doesn't drive anyone too crazy. I love a stripy binding. I'm going to fold it like this. And I'm going to cut this binding at 2.5 inches. Now that's a pretty chunky binding, but that's okay. I'd rather give myself too much than not enough on this. I have done 2-inch and all the way up to 3-inch binding. Just depends on the look you want. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so now we've got to iron this binding. I've got my strip. I do not cut it on the bias because I'm not sewing any curves here, so nothing needs to stretch or be finessed over a curve. So I just cut it right across the grain. I don't even care. It works for a straight edge object. It works. Okay, what did I do with my iron? When you're making your own binding, this is how I do it. I just fold it in half. This is like a quilter style binding here. I'm going to show you the other way, like with double fold binding as well. So we are going to we're going to start sewing on the back side. And we'll just start sewing. We're taking the open edge, the raw edges, and placing it even with the top raw edge of the coaster. So the folded edge is down here. And then when we get up to this corner, we're going to stop 1/4 inch away. We're going to fold up the binding like this and make a crease, 45-degree angle, and then bring it right back down on itself like this. Okay, and then we'll keep sewing, and that'll make a really nice mitered corner. I'll take you through that again, don't worry. Okay. So I'm coming all the way up to 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the coaster. I'm going to back stitch a couple of stitches and then take the whole thing out. I'm flipping the binding up and making a 45-degree angle, making a crease, and then bringing it back down. And now I'm going to start sewing right off this edge and all the way down. That's where I start sewing. And the same goes for this corner. The back stitch and take it out. So just walking you through the corner again, I just flip that binding up, press it with my fingers for that 45-degree crease, and then fold it right back on itself. And we start sewing immediately at that corner. Aligning that straight edge. And then stopping again in this corner, 1/4 of an inch away, bringing it out, making my crease, and then flipping it back down. And I'll start sewing. And on this one, I'm going to give myself some room to join those short edges. So I can't sew all the way down to the next corner on this side because that's when we're joining the two short ends. You go as slow as you need to here. This is not a race. You lay this guy flat. You take this guy and you connect him like, instead of flat, instead of horizontal or sideways, you're moving him vertically, okay? And then because we're trying to reduce the bulk, we're sewing this angle here from this corner down to this corner. And then we'll trim this away with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let me show you that. Let's see if I can throw a pin in here. So this is what it looks like. I didn't get that up quite far enough, but that's okay. Good enough. Then I'm going to trim the excess away. Now I'm just going to finger press this open. It makes it sit a little flatter and nicer. And now when the binding is refolded, see how it just perfectly fits there? And I'm going to finish sewing down this edge. I love making coasters because you can really practice. Okay, so now it's on. And now is the really fun part. I'm going to bring the ironing mat up. And this will be flipped to the front. And see how those corners are looking so good? So I am going to trim some of these threads. And then I kind of tug on it a little bit and I bring it around to the front, straight side, all the way across. I really mash this down. Now, if you wanted to, you can absolutely dab some Elmer's school glue in there, or you can use, the trusted double sticky tape. I love this stuff. I use it all the time. You can do this. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. You absolutely can. I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it on this side. So I'm going to press that down, lift up the paper, and now it's going to hold it there for me. Like, how nice is that, you know? Now on to this side. Give it a good tug so that it's nice and crisp. I've got a nice mitered corner there. And if you don't worry about it. You'll get it next time, that corner. Just keep practicing. This is what I do to help me out. I use tools that help me get a professional result, or a good result anyways, but it's easy on me. That's why I keep packs and packs of this tape at my sewing station, because I know I'm going to use it. Now, if you have a lot of bulk in a corner, you can come in and trim out some of the batting or the foam or whatever it is that's giving you too much bulk. You can also mash it down with your iron. It will go into submission eventually. All right, let's get out that double-sided sticky tape, and make it work for us. Anything to make sewing easier is right in my book. So use those tools. I'm making sure that my corners are mitered and looking good here. Giving it a quick press, and here we go. Okay, so now I am just going to sew all the way around the edge, and then we're finished. So let me turn this on. You could stick a label in here, a little tag. It'd be really cute. I wonder if I have mine around here. I don't know where it's at. Little trouble. Okay, so remember, I should have in a cream colored thread, but I'm using brown right now so that you can see my stitches. Because for tutorial, you want to be able to see what is going on. All right, and let me bring in this camera a little bit more. Here we go. And with that tape, I don't have to worry about anything coming undone. Nothing gums up my needle. It's just fabulous. If in the corner you wanted to go down the corner, you can. Sometimes I do, just for fun. You can do whatever you like. I like to backstitch in the corner a stitch or two. So trim the threads. So there's one way to do it. Now, that's not the only way. There are lots of ways to do something. I'm going to show you another example of how I used to do it all the time with double fold, extra wide double fold binding. Let's see what happens. So here I'm making this project much bigger. I'm thinking like a mug rug. So I am going to use fusible fleece on this and just cut my fabric accordingly. The front and the back will be the same fabric. This is how I do it really quickly on the fly. I just match the fusible fleece to the fabric, iron it on, fuse it. This took a lot longer than what you're seeing here, so don't feel rushed. This is just so the tutorial isn't eons long for you. Okay, so the fusible fleece is fused, and we will move on to the binding. Okay, so this is Wright's double fold, extra wide double fold packaged binding. It's pre-made. I use this a lot For this, it's got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 creases here. So 4 sections to the binding. So you want to try and find which one is. I like to put a pin where I'm starting, and then I'll do the corners exactly the same. We come up, we stop at 1/4 of an inch, we fold it up, we fold it down, we continue sewing all the way across. And we're sewing in this first crease here, because then we're going to fold it around. You'll see, it's like magic. All right, here we go. Pulling it out, flipping it up, and doing the same crease action and fold that we did with the other style. Stopping 1/4 of an inch away. If you need to take it totally out and back over to your work surface, go ahead and do it. I'm folding it up, folding it back down, and I'll continue sewing right there, right in that crease again. Last corner. Now I'm not going to sew all the way across. I'm going to give myself some space there and bring it back over to the work surface. So now we're here and we're back to putting our binding pieces together again. So let's find the middle roughly. Let me get my chalk. So I can cut this piece about there. And then I'm going to overlap it with this piece by the width of the binding. Remember, this part that overlaps the other piece of binding has to be as wide as your binding tape is. So open out that double fold binding all the way and then draw that chalk line as wide as the binding is. So now we'll put him flat. And we'll put him like this. And then we're going to sew from this top corner diagonally down to the other corner. Don't sew on top of your project. Make sure you're moving it out of the way. Okay, so there it's sewn. I'm going to trim away that excess material, 1/4 of an inch. And then what I'll do is I'm going to come back in and sew that down. This can go either way, press it to the side or open. It's not really a huge deal, but if you're into rules, then press it open and now finish sewing across here. Get your ironing surface and we can press it up with our fingers, flip it to the front. Remember, this project I did the same fabric on top and bottom. Okay, so now you've got this extra little lip because this is double fold binding. So you just press that down and then you're going to fold the whole thing over like this. And I like to give this a nice press. It's already really trained well. And so with a little press, this stuff will just sit and behave. It's amazing. That's why I really like the Wright's prepackaged binding. It works really well. See that? It's great. I don't think I need to use tape on this one. Nice mitered corner onto this side. So I'm taking that free edge, I'm tucking it down, and then I'm folding all the binding over. That's why it's called a double fold. I used to even do my quilts this way because I didn't know that that's not what quilters did. So I did it. And sometimes I still do. I think sometimes, actually I think most times, when you're a beginner, you're not encased in this so-called sort of rule book. And it's very freeing because you just don't know what you don't know. So you try new things and you explore and you find the best way for you. It's awesome. Being a beginner is awesome. And not everything will be a win, and that's okay. The best learning in my life has come from mistakes and I don't know, just learning the hard way, even though I would prefer not to. It's just how it is. All right. Now I can sew down this side. I like to use clips. When I'm folding this edge over. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I like to start out with them anyways. You could absolutely do the tape trick again here. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to start sewing it. I'm going to move this. And I really should switch to a pink thread, I think, because I want to keep this project. I think I will really quick. Do, 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 do. This is my little humming tune for you. This is a really light pink, so it's looking almost, yeah, it looks white on this hot pink. That's okay. I like the look of stitches, actually. So you'll see what I mean. On the back side of this one, it's pretty hidden. And again, as I'm folding it to the front, I am covering that first pass of stitching that we did when we attached it to the back side first. So as long as your front looks good enough for you, that's really all that matters. I do wish I had remembered to bring a tag. Maybe I can grab one really quick from right in the corner. That's where I like to put my labels. This one says, "I was made for you." All right. To trim my threads. Nice big little coffee mug rug. There's my tag. Oh, it looks like I missed a stitch there. I need to go back and make sure that's in there. And then there's the back side. Most of it I got on the binding. Some I went off a little bit, but I'm rusty. So there are two different types of binding and how to put them on. So that will help you connect your short ends so that there isn't bulk and you don't have to, do this the old one fold over the other. However, I will say I have done that. So don't feel bad if you do it in a pinch. If you're just not feeling it and to do these steps, that's okay too. But if you want to do this without tools, this is how I connect my binding, and this is how I sew it on. This is how I sew it on quilts. Oh, I have this bag here I can show you. This is my HST tote, and it has a bound edge at the top. And this is exactly how I would put it on. And if you do the cheater method and you put the binding on and then just sew it all at once, what usually happens, even for experienced sewists, is you'll end up missing one side of the binding and you'll have to go back and do another pass or whatever. And it's just a little bit aggravating. So if you can put it on and fold it over and sew it again, that's best practice, because then you won't have any missing stitched edges at all. And yes, I've been there and did that too. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments and I'll do my best to answer you as long as I know. And if I don't know, I will ask somebody who does. So, all right, take care and keep sewing. I will see you soon.